Can you change the past by imagining and thinking about it differently? Well, we're going to talk about this tonight. This is Tom Kieran with the Be Something Wonderful studio of Higher Consciousness in San Diego, California, where we help you level up and become the better version, the highest version of yourself. Welcome back, guys. Got a great lesson tonight. We're going to talk about manifesting the Neville Goddard way, another episode of that. And Neville Goddard, as I mentioned, his belief is that Christ is our imagination. It's the Christ in us that is imagination. Our hope of glory, right, is the Christ in us. This idea of that divinity in us, right? This is really nothing new. It really compares with other spiritual teachers we've talked about. And he calls it imagination, this divine power that within us that we can harness by using our thoughts and imagining things in our imagination, with lining up our thoughts in our imagination, and with a clear vision of what we're imagining. And he tells the story of the unjust steward. As you know, Neville uses scripture. He was very well read in scripture, and he uses scripture to make his examples. His belief was that the scripture was showing us a psychological drama played out in our consciousness, where that higher consciousness was the God consciousness. And all of the stories, most of the stories, he believes that were to get us to harness that imagination, harness that divinity within us. And the unjust steward was about, he worked for a rich man, and this rich man was going to fire him for not doing a good job accounting for doing the accounting on his accounts for his money. So the boss, his called him in and said, "Hey, I want an accounting of those records." So the unjust steward called all the debtors of the rich man one by one, and asked them how much he owed his master, his boss. And the first one said, "Well, I owe 100 measures of oil." And he goes, "Okay, quickly write down 50 on the invoice." And then he asked the next one, "How much do you owe?" And he goes, 100 measures of wheat. "Okay, quickly write down 80. And he did this with each debtor, reducing the amount of the bill. The idea was that if he got in good stead with the debtors, that he would have a place, after he got fired, he would have a place to go or a place to live. They would look favorably to him. When the rich man, his boss, found out what happened, he commended him for his shrewdness. So this is the story of the unjust steward. Now, different interpretations of this. Neville Goddard his interpretation is this, he calls revision. This is the idea that we can change the past in our imagination. We can revise our day or revise events in our past how we would like them to be. And so the unjust steward the parable was showing that we can falsify the past, essentially, to what we want it to be. And then this will change our present situation and affect our future. This was the idea with the unjust steward. Remember, there's always the meaning behind the meaning, especially in the Bible with these stories. And this was Neville's interpretation of it. The idea that the facts say that it was 100 measures of oil and 100 measures of wheat. But the unjust steward asked him to falsify the record, to go in your imagination and see it differently. And then even the why, and it does make sense. Why would the boss then commend him, right? If the story was literal, if he was really cheating, the rich man, why would the rich man commend him for his shrewdness, right? What he was saying is he was using his imagination to revise what we call the facts. The past is the facts. So guys, we're going to get into this a little bit, but it's the whole idea. I gave you a story in the quantum physics, in one of my quantum physics lessons, the idea that the past, the present, and the future is all right now in that field of infinite possibilities. It's all possible right now. It's all there. And so our thoughts and feelings can affect past, present, and future. This is the idea. It's kind of mind-boggling. But this is an idea of sort of where forgiveness comes in too. When you forgive, you're not stuck in the past anymore. You're changing the past. It's really powerful stuff. So Neville was saying that it's the Christ in you, right? Imagination is the Christ in you. And his point, look, if imagination creates a new reality, and this is what he preached, and this is using your imagination, coming from wishes fulfilled, coming from thinking from what you want, and then creating that in your reality. He also believed that you can unmake that. If you made it, then imagination can unmake it. This is almost like the law of reversibility, right? If an effect can cause a cause can cause an effect, they go both ways. Well, this makes sense then in this way, that what Neville's saying. First, though, you got to believe in your imagination, that Christ in you. So what you wish to experience in imagination, that you wished to experience in the flesh. This is forgiveness. He calls this being born again, right? Being born again is that Christ resurrecting in you, that Christ using your imagination, using that divinity to create the life you want, and even to make corrections or forgive the past. This is powerful stuff, guys, right? This gives you the ultimate power, right? You don't get stuck in the past. You don't get stuck in the present either or worrying about the future. You know you control this through your thoughts, feelings, and imagination. This is freedom. So here's the key, as Neville says it: withdraw your attention from the unrevised past. This makes sense, right? Because we know that, we learned this in quantum physics as well, that when we put our attention on something, that creates. That's a creative measure. That keeps it in your experience. When we take our attention away from it, it's no longer in our experience. So if we take our attention off the unrevised past and then put our imagination on how we would have liked it to happen, then we revise the past. We're changing the past. We're changing our relationship to it, right? Which affects your present. You know, when you clean up your energy like that and it's total forgiveness, wow, it's amazing. You see things differently. You're aligned with that Christ in you, so you see the past differently. And remember, it's all happening right now. We're moving through space. So it's not, time is irrelevant in some ways, right? Space and time, right? So forgive is to forget in this case, right? It's to forget or revise. So forgive and forget, it makes sense. It's to revise the past. Very powerful, guys. We're going to talk more about revision and other specific examples. But this is what keeps us in a loop where we keep creating the same reality. Although it's a new reality, it's the same hue. It's the same types of things happening, although it's a new reality. This gets you unstuck, knowing that you can change the past, you can revise it. There's no need to regret. Doesn't mean you go out and start doing things that you would like. That's not the energy, right? That energy will just create, it's out of love. That's how forgiveness is out of love. It's using that power that we're made of. Imagine creates so a man, and this is from Matthew 10:36. By the way, the story of the unjust steward, I believe, is in Luke, the book of Luke 16, chapter 16, if you want to look that up. A man's foes are those of his own household. Matthew 10:36. What's the Bible saying there? A man's foes. They're not talking about his family, your physical family. They're not talking about that. This is in your mind. Yeah, it's referring to your imagination, that Christ within you, your thoughts and feelings. That's your biggest enemy. Why? Because this is what it creates all this mess that we have to clean up, right? We create all this mess when we don't have to, right? We can start and revise it. That puts the past, that makes the past what you wanted it to be, and clears the future for what you really are dreaming and you want to pull in right now, right? A man's foes are those of his own household. Guys, imagination creates life. That's the thoughts and feelings. What we give our attention to, that's the big creative power of life. This, right? It's not, we create things with our thoughts and feelings and imagination unconsciously a lot of times. We're not conscious about it. We're not thinking about it. We're going on past thoughts, past experiences, drudging those up, responding the same way to our reflection into the events right now and creating the same things. Not really realizing the power of that, and then trying to clean it up in the physical, battling it out without that help of that infinite Christ in you, that infinite field of potential. We try to physically manhandle it and battle reality to try to clean up what the mess we created with our imagination. The only way to do it is inner, right? It's Neville Goddard talks about this often when he's referring to the Bible, that the Bible talks about the second man and the inner man. So it's always, we're going to talk about some of these other parables and these other stories, but it's always the second son or the second man is the one that is the imagination or the change or the born again or the big revision, right? We'll talk about this, but it's ignoring your senses, ignoring reality. It's already created. The only way to create your new reality is take your attention off it and put it on the new reality. The old reality is hard and dense. Yeah, we'll talk about this idea of the second man being your inner man or the inner Christ in you. Yeah, this is the power of revision. So can you change the past? Guys, you can through your imagination, right? This is really powerful stuff. And we're going to talk more about Neville Goddard. I love this lesson. We'll talk how to use revision. But his recommendation is before you go to bed to revise your day. Even if it wasn't, set it out, revise it as you perfectly would like it. If you got a letter in the mail you didn't like or an email that you didn't like, revise the email. This sets the tone and that energy. Remember, energy is fluid. It goes into past, present, and future. It's everywhere. And so when you do that, you're sending out that signature, that new signature, not the signature that you're mulling over it, you're depressed over it, you don't like it, the signature that you revised it and how you wanted it to be. This is powerful. Try it. Try it. And see what you think, right? The only way to know is to try it. Yeah. We'll talk more about this. This is it for now, guys. This is Tom Karam with the Be Something Wonderful studio of Higher Consciousness in San Diego, California, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the notification bell so you never miss a video, and like and share the video. That's how we get our message out, right, guys? Okay, until next time, this is Tom. See you soon.